Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this February 10th version of a hybrid virtual and in-person meeting of the MPO Board. At this time, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a roll call, please?
Owen,
Here.
Wagner. Here. Citro,
Here.
Klug,
Here.
Williams, Donahue. Here. Doughty,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Lapano,
Here.
Kemp. Here. Overman,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Maniscalco, Lott, Dingfelder, Vaughn,
Present.
and Williams. And we do have an in-person quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. We are on a very, very tight schedule this morning due to the fact that we are going to lose a quorum at 10:30 due to some obligations that the elected officials have, some of the elected officials have. So what I'm going to do is first ask for approval of the minutes of the January 13th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see who was the, Mr. Citro moved approval, Ms. Kemp seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Cohen,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Williams. Donahue. Doughty,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Lapano,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Lott, Dingfelder, Vaughn.
Yes.
Motion carries 14-0.
Thank you very much. We have public comment at this time, 3 minutes per speaker for 30 minutes total. I was informed that we had one person for public comment this morning. I believe it was the same speaker that we had for the policy committee. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, well, if Ms. Amato is on the line, we can go ahead with that 3 minutes.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
good morning.
Hello?
Yes,
okay,
you're recognized.
Good morning.
Thank
I
you.
apologize. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you. And I appreciate everyone taking the time today. I know it's a very tight schedule, so I will just try to be quick with my 3 minutes. I'm addressing the MPO because I'm asking for us to readdress our Vision Zero and Safe Streets policy. It's not completely inclusive of the American school, recognizing the American school bus as the safest path for children to get to school, and recognizing that equal access to the American school bus is an equity issue to the education resource of the school bus. And the reason why I'm addressing the MPO, because Vision Zero, in order to reach a Vision Zero as a Vision Zero plan, we must recognize that the school bus is the safest path to school. If there is a safe path that includes the multimodal of walking and biking, of course, all of our constituency may choose that. But to deny students what we know will save their life, which is the American school bus, as we can see very clearly, the increase of crossing guards that our commissioners approved has literally saved lives this year. And we can see that all throughout the county through our high traffic volumes. And I really want us to readdress our Safe Streets campaign, our Vision Zero campaign, to truly recognize the American school bus as our safest path to school, and also recognize the equity issue in denying our students of color, our Black and brown students who are disproportionately denied access to the American school bus. That creates a disparity in safety along the path to school in our county. I want to really emphasize that these school bus stops in front of my home. I live over 2 miles to school. It took 3 years and an Office of Civil Rights complaint for my children to have equal access to the educational resource of the school bus. This is disequitable in every manner possible, and we need to be, as a community, on the right side of history on this issue. They don't take the bus away from my kids. They literally don't tell them to get on the back of the bus. They have literally created a systemic issue in which my children are denied access in totality. The 2-mile rule wasn't created until after Brown versus Board of Ed and desegregation in the state of Florida. And I do have a civil rights complaint on the issue, but on the county side and the MPO side, I really feel like we really need to review what a safe path and a multimodal path for our children to school is. I know the commissioners have been fantastic in supporting safe paths, but that it has to be inclusive of the school bus. I feel that sometimes the Student Transportation Working Group in the past has created an atmosphere that we're dismissive of the role the school bus plays in removing 130,000 cars from the road and removing our children out of the pathway of danger. And I truly appreciate everyone's time, and I hope you have a great day and a great celebration. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Ms. Alden, does that conclude our public comment for this morning? It does. So because we have some items that are time sensitive that we need to deal with today, for the moment, I'm going to skip committee reports and advance comments. Those things are in the agenda packet, and the electronic comments have been sent in advance to all board members. I'm going to move on now to action items, and we're going to start with item C, which is the Unified Planning Work Amendment Program amendment, and Allison Ye will present that.
Good morning, everyone. Allison Ye with MPO staff. I'll be as succinct as possible. What the item before you is the amendment to our work program, the UPWP. Next slide, please. As you know, this is a 2-year work program, essentially our business plan that becomes effective July every year. So this one was effective July 2019 and runs through June 30th, 2020, and really outlines all our coordination and planning tasks so that we may comply with federal and state rules. Next slide, please. We have 3 items for you to approve today, and very straightforward. The truing up of our 2021 FTA funding, as well as our previous year FTA funding, which I'll detail more later. An update of a few of our tasks, just moving money around without changing the overall total to accommodate our workflow and the work we've been doing, and then some clarifying language in tasks 2, 3, and 5. Next slide, please. This chart is a little hard to see on the screen, but basically on the left in the blue circles, you see the changes to our planning budget. And we moved funding from task 6, 2, and 3 over to task 1, where we've been doing a lot of compliance activity and also meeting activity related to the change in our meeting styles during the COVID, and really just adjustment of work times with no overall changes to the total. As far as FTA funding goes, that's the green boxes you see. The column to the right is our new FTA funding, and due to COVID, we are going to be receiving the federal share of our funding, but the match that came with it, the 20%, will be an in-kind match from the Department of Transportation, what they call a soft match. And on the left, I just wanted to note that we make an estimate every December of how much money we can carry forward from our grants, and then we kind of use that up. So at this time of the year, we just true up those numbers in our work plan. Next slide, please. There are also some minor text changes, really clarifications. In task 2 in our transportation disadvantage planning, we wanted to clearly note our non-discrimination plan work. In task 3, the LRTP and data monitoring, we removed a reference to a specific consultant for our data sharing analytics portal. And we often work with a number of consultants, so we're just clarifying that language. And finally, in task 5, we added the word comply to clarify our work with the Title VI and non-discrimination plan work and limited English proficiency plans. And next slide, please. And that's in a nutshell the changes we're making, and we're hoping you will approve those today so that we may move on to update our work program.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Overman, seconded by Commissioner Myers, to move approval of this item. I do not see any discussion. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Owen,
Aye.
Wagner,
Yes.
Cedro,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Donahue, Doughty,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Lapano,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Lot, Dingfelder, Vaughn,
Yes.
motion carries 14-0.
And before we move on, Mr. Wagner wanted to say a word.
Just to notice that a quick thank you to the Florida DOT for the soft match provided, a gift of $131,000 for us to get those federal funds. It didn't cost us anything. So thank you, District 7.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes. Okay. We're going to move on to item E, safety performance targets for 2021. Johnny Wong, MPO staff, will present this item.
Good morning, board members. Johnny Wong, Hillsborough MPO. I'm going to go through this topic pretty speedily. I'm here to brief you on the safety performance targets for calendar year 2021. Next slide, please. The MAP 21 legislation requires DOTs and MPOs to track performance for each of the 5 measures shown on this slide. We, as an MPO, are required to calculate targets for these measures using a 5-year rolling average. In addition to these prescribed measures, the MPO board has in years past voted to track 2 additional measures, including year-end fatality total as well as motorcycle fatalities. Next slide, please. MPOs and DOTs are required to set targets every year. This is the 5th year we're doing this. For the previous 4 years, the DOT has set state targets at 0. This past April, the Federal Highway Administration determined that the state has not yet made significant progress toward achieving a target of 0 fatalities. So last August, FDOT had to produce a Highway Safety Improvement Program Implementation Plan, HSIP, and that document came up with some strategies to improve safety. And some of the recommendations included things like focusing on moving people rather than vehicles, improving safety coordination among state, regional, and local partners, using technology, and optimizing investments in a way that yields the most safety benefits. At a future date that hasn't yet been determined, FDOT will review our targets, and the Federal Highway Administration will review DOT's targets to determine if significant progress has been made toward achieving them. Next slide, please. In the time that's passed since this board adopted targets last year, a lot has happened. Of course, the big story in 2020 was the pandemic and its impact on travel behavior. What we saw across spring and summer of last year was an approximate 10 to 20% drop in traffic volumes, and then a gradual rebound throughout the end of the year. The MPO also continued its planning work, and we were successfully able to produce safety studies on some corridors that are listed in the top 20 high injury network. In addition to working on specific challenges facing those high injury corridors, a more general action plan was produced focusing on speed management strategies across the entire county. And the last important news is that the Independent Oversight Committee held its first public hearing in October to certify project plans, yet the litigation over the validity of the surtax remains ongoing. Next slide, please. The MAP 21 legislation requires us to track the measures we're discussing, and it also requires us to set realistic data-driven targets. And since 2016, we've been using a methodology that we believe meets those standards. My team's approach to producing the safety targets has always been that we project the number of crashes we'll have by year's end, and then we subtract the crash reduction benefits that are achievable given the anticipated level of investment. Next slide, please. So for calendar year 2021, based on the revenue that we're estimating to be invested in safety projects, we should expect approximately a 1% decrease across all crash types. And as our projections have shown in years past, if or when the surtax revenue is released and programmed, we know that we could achieve a reduction of at least 2 to 3% annually, and likely far more than that. Next slide, please. But as it stands, we're still awaiting a ruling by the by the Florida Supreme Court regarding the surtax. Our assumption for 2021 is that if the court issues a ruling, the funds won't be released in time to program and complete projects. So even if that money gets released to us, it's not likely that we'll be able to complete any safety projects that will have an impact on the year's end data. We're also assuming that traffic volumes in 2021 will continue to rebound gradually from the dramatic decrease we saw last year, but will eventually get back to pre-COVID levels. And we're basing that assumption on a Florida economic forecast report that states our economic recovery will occur faster than some other states. Next slide, please. So this is the bread and butter of what we need to accomplish today, our performance predictions. The first one shown on this screen is one of our discretionary targets. It's the year-end fatality, meaning it's not a 5-year rolling average. We ended 2020 with approximately 192 fatalities, and we're anticipating an improvement over last year, and we're hoping to end the year at no more than 190 fatalities. Next slide, please. This target is one that's required by the Federal Highway Administration. This is 5-year rolling average for fatalities. Based on the prescribed methodology for calculating this measure, we're predicting that we will end the year with an average of no more than 195 fatalities. Next slide, please. A second discretionary target is motorcycle fatalities on a 5-year average. In 2019, we had a historically high year for motorcycle fatalities, but in 2020, as a result of economic and travel behavior considerations, that number dropped to 25, which was less than half of the previous year. Based on our calculations, we're anticipating that we will end 2021 with a performance of no more than 34.95 motorcycle fatalities. Next slide, please. Our fourth target is average serious injuries, and this trend has been fairly stable over the previous decade. We're anticipating that we will end the year with no more than 1,201 serious injuries. Next slide, please. Next is annual non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. This means bike and ped. Last year, we missed our target by a considerable margin. As a result of the lockdown, a lot of folks were walking and biking who normally do not. And they were walking and biking under unsafe conditions. And that's what we attribute the exceptionally high number of crashes in 2022. However, by the end of 2021, we're anticipating that we will end the year with a performance of no more than 230 fatalities, and that's our target, fatalities and injuries combined. Next slide, please. Our next target is fatality rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. This trend line has increased over the previous decade. It has bounced around considerably, and last year was an anomaly due to the low amount of volume. We're anticipating that we will end 2021 with a target of no more than 1.38 fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. Next slide, please. And finally, our rate of serious injury crashes per 100 million vehicle miles traveled has steadily been decreasing over the previous decade. In line with that trend, we're anticipating that we will end the year with no more than a rate of 8.49 injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. Next slide, please. I want to end with a report card showing how we performed in 2020. We met or exceeded the targets for the top 4 measures shown in this chart, namely fatalities, fatality average, serious injuries, and motorcycle fatalities. So with the reduced volume and reduced crashes in 2020, we were able to meet or exceed all of those. 3 that we failed to meet are the 3 at the bottom: non-motorized fatalities and injuries, fatalities per volume travel or vehicle miles traveled, and serious injuries per vehicle miles traveled. However, a caveat to recognize with the VMT targets is that we had to estimate what the volumes are. We won't have reliable volume data until the middle of this coming year. So based on our best assumptions about traffic volume last year, we believe that we narrowly missed those targets. Next slide, please. And in wrapping up, we were asked by our Citizens Advisory Committee to discuss the impact of speeding on our safety performance. And second, because the DOT produced the HSIP implementation plan, When those targets are reported in our tip, we'll be sure to include FDOT's plan as an attachment and accommodate the request by our committee to discuss the role of speed. And so based on that, our recommendation for you all today is based on the adopted methodology to approve the calendar year 2021 safety targets. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have for me.
All right, I don't see any questions in the room. Are there any questions? Commissioner Smith, you're recognized.
Very quick point, as we are considering what to do with the surtax while we're waiting for the Supreme Court. It's my understanding, Ms. Alden can correct me if I'm wrong, that these goals of Vision Zero are dependent on how much money we can spend on safety infrastructure to reduce our crashes. Had we been able to spend the surtax in our last year on the complete streets improvements listed in that plan for the first year of the surtax, we would have reduced these crashes considerably. We had 104 crashes in those segments where our plan would have spent money on bike ped safety improvements if we had had that surtax. We had 104 crashes in those segments. Those improvements we could have made would have an average crash reduction factor of 50%. That means that money, had we spent it last year, could have saved 52 crashes. Some resulted in very serious injuries, possibly death. Thank you. That's my point.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp?
And I'll be fast as well. But it looked like mostly small reductions, better news, less traffic. But I just wanted to note the 230 fatalities and injuries that occurred in bicycle and ped. That was one of the categories that moved up, and it's one that we have, again, we're second in the nation over and over and over again in the fatalities that we have from bicycle and pedestrian, and that's just going to have to move. So
Thank you for that. And just to remember that these, unfortunately, these targets are not aspirational. We are required to actually target the numbers as the data shows they're going to be, not as we wish they were, because we certainly don't ever want to target that number of injuries and fatalities as some sort of an acceptable number. At that, can we entertain a motion for? Moved by Commissioner Kemp, seconded by Commissioner Myers. Roll call vote, please.
Cohen,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Donahue, Doughty,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Lapano,
Yes.
Kemp,
yes,
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Lott, Dingfelder, Vaughn.
Yes.
Motion carries 14-0.
Thank you very
Right,
much.
thank you all.
We are going to move on now to number 3. FDOT Tentative Work Program, MPO comments. Mr. Clarendon.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, commissioners and board members. In view of the time constraints, we are going to dispense with the presentation. I would simply say that we are joined today by representatives from FDOT, District 7, as well as the Florida Turnpike Enterprise to answer any questions you might have. But this is our opportunity to go on record and submit comments related to the 5-year tentative work program that FDOT has put together. I would simply say that we have prepared a letter for your consideration that was included in the packet. And essentially, while there's a lot to like about the tentative work program, and it's quite consistent with the priorities that you adopted last summer, we are taking note of and registering, I guess, our disappointment related to the need to defer some essential projects. This is as a result of some of the funding shortfalls related to the economic downturn due to the pandemic. So a couple of those just to highlight some of the impacts. The I-275 West Shore interchange project had to be moved out a couple of years in the program. And as well, another essential project in the Riverview area is the US 41 CSX grade separation on an essential commuter route. It's often tied up by train movements in and out of the port there. There are some other projects that also were impacted, but overall, we would like to thank DOT and the state for many of the projects, priority projects related to our core programs such as Vision Zero and Smart Cities, as well as maintaining the system in good repair. So with that, we would recommend that you approve sending the letter, the draft letter that has been prepared. And if there are questions, we will try to answer them. Thank you.
Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you. I am just very disappointed about the CSX grade separation. I understand that that is going to be now off the 5-year list, and I think it is very critical to our transportation network from South County. People are held up for 15 minutes, 20 minutes at a time, and I don't know. We need to begin some negotiations with CSX at this time. It's a terrible thing that that will not be moving forward, and for transit as well as for our car traffic and commuter traffic from that area. And secondly, just to note that despite having this major project removed, apparently we still have TBX north of I-275 from downtown to Fowler Fletcher still on there, despite the fact that we've had more than 600 people come to MPO meetings and ask for it to be removed, hundreds and hundreds, thousands really. So to see that funding still remains on is a disappointment as well.
I don't see any other hands at this time. Let me just say that I am equally very concerned about this West Shore interchange program being deferred. People are bottlenecked every day coming in from Pinellas County into Hillsborough. Right now, I believe it's 4 lanes that terminate into 2. It compromises people getting to and from the airport and from our major business centers, and it's very, very important when the new span is built that it not terminate into a gridlocked parking lot, that it actually comes into a functioning road network. With that, can we entertain a motion to approve this item?
I move. It's Charles Klug.
Moved by Mr. Klug, seconded by Mr. Wagner. Roll call vote, please.
Cohen,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Donahue, Doughty,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Lapano,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Lott, Dingfelder, Vaughn.
Yes.
Motion carries 14-0.
Okay, and I'd like to take one last item before we adjourn, and that is item number 4. That is the letter that's been requested by the Livable Roadways Committee. And after Ms. Silva presents that, I'm going to call on Councilman Citro.
Okay. Good morning, Board. This is Lisa Silva, MPO staff.
The letter we have before you was proposed under new business in the January Livable Roadways committee meeting. Members brought forth initiative that Walk Bike Tampa is going to discuss with the City of Tampa Council on February 18th. And what they're going to ask is that staff modify the Tampa ordinances to encourage more sidewalk construction, less of exempting out of the sidewalk construction, and making it easier to install and fund sidewalk gaps throughout City of Tampa, and with a particular attention to within 2 miles of schools. They'd like that to be prioritized. Given that these concepts were very consistent with Livable Roadways vision and mission, the group was favorable, so the attached letter was prepared for your consideration. The group did acknowledge that balancing new sidewalk construction with natural resources like street trees, stormwater and ditches, and economic development in regards to not causing housing to be less affordable were things that that would be balanced with the concerns.
Okay, I'm going to call on Councilman Citro at this time. Let me note that we have just been passed out some suggested revisions to this that have come from Mr. Wagner. My sense of just reading it briefly is that it just cleans up the language. But I want to say that for those that are at home that didn't have the benefit of having the sheet put in front of them, perhaps Mr. Citro and Mr. Wagner can help us address this, keeping in mind the time constraints that we have this morning.
Mr. Wagner, I will yield to you if you'd like.
Thank you, sir. But my comments are offered as clarification, the focus that, if you look at, I'm sorry for those who aren't here, I did make an electronic copy, but I got it late. I apologize to that, and Beth, I'm sorry I didn't get it to you sooner. Next to last, the second page, next last paragraph, reads the Hillsborough MPO is committed to safety for roadway users. And just citing that sentence, my focus is on we have common ground with the city, the MPO does. So I changed that to say Hillsborough MPO and the City of Tampa are committed to safety. And instead of roadway, I put for all transportation users to focus on, it's the whole system that we're focused on. The rest of the changes are along the lines of we have common ground and a collegial approach is the intent of the changes I'm suggesting, Joseph, Mr. Citro. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wagner. And having reviewed your edits to this, I was going to say that this letter is coming from the MPO, but however, you are correct that MPO and the City of Tampa are joined together in this. So I thank you, and I would like to go ahead and add these substitutions if we can, Ms. Silva.
Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just
need
like
to be
to,
cut short.
Oh, I
Sorry,
apologize.
I wasn't meant
sorry.
to. I was just asking Ms. Silva to please take note of these corrections.
Okay, when you're finished, I'll come to Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen of the MPO, I'm taking off my MPO hat and putting on my Livable Roadways hat. This by no means is a letter telling City of Tampa what to do. This is just showing support for Walk Bike Tampa. And this is being able to put more tools in our toolbox to support the Vision Zero campaign. So I am going to make the motion that, with corrections from Mr. Wagner, that we move to send this letter of support to the Tampa City Council.
second.
Okay, and Commissioner Kemp just seconded it. Councilman Citro, for the benefit of those that are on the telephone, who I can see are a bit puzzled by what is being mentioned here, can you just briefly tell us what it is we're doing, or if not, I'm sure Commissioner Kemp or I will.
Okay, I don't know if anybody has a letter before them. At our last committee meeting, Livable Roadways, Ms. Hinsdale, who is part of that committee, came to us. She was representing Walk Bike Tampa. I'm sorry, my teeth, tongue, and lips are not working in sync today. And we are concerned, she was concerned, of the gaps in the roadway and the gaps of the sidewalks leading around schools. And we've heard some very passionate pleas and discussion today, especially from Ms. Lovato. There are parts of the City of Tampa 1,300 miles, I believe, of roadways that don't have continuous sidewalks to schools. So this is a plea to City Council to amend sections 22-103, 22-104 in the comprehensive city ordinance to help revise what we already have in place and to stop, home developers from buying out of putting sidewalks in front of homes and to continue sidewalks within a 2-mile radius of schools.
I think over the years, they've been allowed to pay into a fund in lieu
Yes.
of building them, and you're saying we want them built.
Yes, sir.
That's the crux of it. Commissioner Kemp.
Great, thank you for bringing this forward, Councilman Citro. The one thing, and I don't mean to nitpick, but just in this last paragraph of this change, I know most of them are just better for, as you said, small edits to clarify the letter, but we've changed it from additional pedestrian infrastructure will allow people to more safely walk, bike, on sidewalks instead of roadways, leading to a decrease in traffic fatalities and injuries. And you've added to the first 2 words to that, we believe, but actually I do think that's a fact, and I'd rather just have it back at additional pedestrian. I'd like to return it to the original way that it was written.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Citro, are you following that?
Yes, I'm amenable to that, yes.
Okay, thank you. And just because we're moving quickly today, let's make sure that everyone gets a copy of the final letter that is voted on, so that there's no dispute as to what actually was supported here today. Is there any additional comment at this time? All right, so we have a motion from Councilman Citro. It's been seconded by Commissioner Kemp. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Cohen,
Yes.
Wagner. Yes. Citro,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Donahue,
Yes.
Doughty,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Lapano,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Motion carries 14-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members.
Thank you all very much, everyone. Everything else that is on our agenda today will be deferred until our next meeting, and we look forward to seeing you then. I believe that is on March 10th. So thank you very much, and we are adjourned. Oh, Commissioner Smith, I apologize. Oh, she's saying
Just
goodbye.
saying bye. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye, Ms. Vaughn. Okay.